By the release of For Your Eyes Only, the 007 adventures have become the highest-grossing movie series of all time. But in 1982, as pre-production begins on the 13th 007 adventure, it is announced that Sean Connery will star in a rival James Bond film. In light of this competition, the question for the producers now is, will 13 be an unlucky number for 007? In the fall of 1981, work begins in Los Angeles on the script for the 13th Bond adventure, Octopussy. George MacDonald Fraser is hired to develop the story.
George MacDonald Fraser is a novelist who wrote the Flashman series, is famous for that.
I suppose our minds went towards George when, we decided that we'd try shooting in India, somewhere we hadn't been before.
He's also a historian.
Eventually, we got a script together. He wrote some of it, and then Dick and I came on and wrote after he did.
Having decided to set the new Bond adventure in India, the filmmakers begin location scouting.
Having looked at Jaipur and everything that was of interest there, we then made a trip to Udaipur.
When we got to Udaipur, we found that, in fact, all the locations we needed we were able to find within a sort of 10 or 15-minute drive of the hotel in the center of Udaipur. I mean, it was the most extraordinary piece of luck.
India is such a big and vast place, and transportation's so difficult that it's good to find a location that'll fit all of your requirements.
It was obvious that within an hour of being there that this was the place that George MacDonald Fraser had written about. There was the floating palace on the lake.
Peter Lamont and myself immediately got our heads together, and we thought that we could make that into Octopussy's palace.
At that time, the Maharaja, who is like the king of kings, he's above a Maharaja, he was just converting part of his palace into it was called the Shivnivas Palace Hotel.
Very sumptuous suites. They're really for people on special holidays.
A lot of the main unit members stayed there, and I was the very first guest. And I think I was the first one to check out as well.
In the coming months, Lamont makes many trips back and forth from England to India. One almost proves to be his last.
There was a message from the radio. It said, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're being hijacked to Lahore."
And they sat in the heat on the tarmac for about 12 hours before it was resolved.
I remember sitting next to this fellow, and he said, "What do you do?" So I said, "I work for James Bond." He said, "Haven't you got any of those gadgets with you?"
The flight crew overcame the hijacker.
And the captain put his arm around the back of the cabin door into the cockpit, grabbed the fire axe and smashed this fellow over the head. And as he kind of fell out the door, he kind of grabbed hold of the frame and got his pistol ready to fire, and of course just lost his balance and fell out. And then there was a rat-tat-tat of machine guns outside, and everybody just fell to the floor.
It was very worrying because we didn't feel it was a good idea for them to deprive us of our production designer.
The filmmakers also face being deprived of their James Bond. By the 1980s, Roger Moore's multi-picture contract has expired. Now his deals are negotiated for one film only, with Moore always claiming that the current Bond will be his last.
It was like a continuing game between Cubby, Roger, and presumably MGM. All about negotiations,
As pre-production on Octopussy commences, it seems that, indeed, For Your Eyes Only will be Moore's final Bond film.
There was a lot of doubt whether Roger was going to do it or not.
Other actors are tested for the role of James Bond, including Michael Billington, who had appeared in the pre-credits of The Spy Who Loved Me. Maud Adams is invited to Pinewood to screen test with another potential 007.
I was asked if I would go to London and do a screen test. And then I found out that Roger had not signed up for the next Bond, and they were considering somebody new.
You look surprised to see me. I thought you were expecting me.
So you are Titania Romanova.
My friends call me Tanya.
Mine call me James Bond.
It was an excellent test.
But I think my mouth is too big.
It's just the right size. For me, that is.
Although he's an American, he's, sophisticated, kind of has a mid-Atlantic style about him.
One of the first roles cast is that of the Secret Service's man in India.
Cubby Broccoli was a great fan of tennis, and he used to come out and watch Wimbledon all the time.
Armitage is asked to come to Pinewood for a screen test.
In the back of my mind, I was thinking to myself, well, I'm going to do this simply because who else will be able to say, well, they worked Pinewood in the morning and played Wimbledon in the afternoon?
But with Sean Connery set to do a rival Bond, the filmmakers take no chances.
It can be kind of confusing. You have two Bonds going at the same time.
There obviously were concerns.
At the last moment, Roger Moore signs for his 6th outing as 007.
Well, they've got a new young unknown actor called Roger Moore playing James Bond.
In the end, Cubby really instinctively didn't really want to use an American playing Bond.
But while Brolin fails to win a leading part in the film, Maud Adams is more fortunate.
I didn't really understand until the day of the screen test that they were serious about me playing Octopussy.
Of course, Maud Adams has the distinction of being the only leading lady to have appeared in 2 James Bond films.
Roger loved her, always thought she was one of his best leading ladies, and Cubby thought she was fantastic.
The things I've always said about Maud, it was always calm, always ready, very pleasant to work with.
As the production date nears, other key roles are cast.
Cubby was an old friend of Louis Jourdan, and they were socially very close.
Louis Jourdan, what a gentleman. Such elegance that he brought to the production.
He's a very suave man.
Cubby always loved the way Louis would say, Octopussy.
Octopussy. Octopussy.
A relative newcomer wins the role of Magda.
Christina Wayborn, I'd seen in a miniseries in America. She played Greta Garbo.
They'd also seen a poster that I had done with a Bengal tiger, sitting on a Bengal tiger in a sort of a Bondish-looking safari outfit.
The part called for a very athletic person, and she was extremely athletic and beautiful and a good actress.
Once again, I got to play with a Swedish actress. It was really quite extraordinary that in both of the films that I did, I had Swedish co-stars.
Although she and Maud were both Swedish, she was a very good contrast.
It made a lot of fun for me, of course, because we had a lot of things in common and we could speak our Swedish when we didn't want anyone to hear us.
Indian actor Kabir Bedi is chosen for the role of Gobinda.
I played more the physical villain rather than the intellectual villain, the sort of jaws of Octopussy.
Kabir Bedi came with a reputation because he was a big heartthrob in Italy.
Casting director Debbie McWilliams finds another actor with a reputation for the pivotal role of General Orloff.
Barbara had seen a play of mine called Greek in L.A., which was a huge hit in a small theater.
Steven Berkoff arrived for his audition in a full samurai suit, looking absolutely extraordinary.
He's just a power to be reckoned with.
Steven Berkoff, the most flamboyant actor, was a wonderful Russian villain.
He gave it all this energy.
The West is decadent and divided.
Very talented man.
Production now begins in earnest on the film, whose title is a source of some controversy.
I did have some reservation about the name. I said, my God, I mean, that name as a title?
For a long time, people said, oh, you're doing the next James Bond movie. What's the name of it? And I said, well, I don't know. I don't think they've named it yet.
The lady interviewing me said, what is the title of the next Bond film? And I said, Octopussy. And she blanched, and she said, you have to be joking. And I said, why? What's wrong with Octopussy?
There was a great debate about whether it would be acceptable by the censor in America.
I mean, it was a name that Ian Fleming had given to one of his short stories, in actual fact.
When I realized that Octopussy really was the title of one of his short stories, then I sort of accepted the name Octopussy.
Once you get used to it, it's like, it's not so bad.
On August the 10th, 1982, cameras roll at Germany's Berlin Wall.
When we went to Berlin, it was at the height of the Cold War.
It was before the wall came down.
The whole time that we were filming, exactly like you saw in the newsreels, there were the East German guards with their binoculars looking down on what we were doing the whole time.
The East German guards were very puzzled over all this, and it created a lot of diplomatic flack.
There was no question of getting permission to actually go through Checkpoint Charlie with James Bond.
The skeleton crew only shoots for a few days, but 007 leaves his mark. The following week, the first unit begins shooting at Pinewood, where Lois Maxwell finds a surprise waiting.
They gave Miss Moneypenny a secretary for the first time. This is a very beautiful young girl, and obviously I'm going to be pushed out of the Bond films.
She is as attractive and as charming
as I used to be. I was a little, sort of annoyed until I found that she was James Clavell's daughter, and her mother was April Stride, who had been a model with me in London when we were about 18.
The first take goes less than smoothly.
Take one. Roger came in the door. He said, "Oh, you're not Miss Moneypenny."
I must say you become more beautiful every day.
I am over here.
Well, of course you are.
And I said, "Let me introduce you to my new assistant, Miss Penelope Smallbush." Whereupon Roger tossed the carnations. He said, "My God, Moneypenny, I know where your mind is at."
The end of August finds the crew at RAF Northolt, filming the amazing pre-credits scene.
The Beady Jet sequence had previously been scheduled for Moonraker. We'd seen these Beady Jets, and it was a great idea, and Corky Thornoff, who was the pilot, he came over to London, and we had a chat about it.
It was a real plane, yes, it was absolutely amazing.
But getting the plane through the hangar requires some special effects magic.
It was built up with lots of models and stunts and foreground miniatures.
You can actually put an object in the foreground and make it merge with a building in the background so it appears to be part of that building.
We used a third scale door and a third scale model plane.
When the plane actually enters the garage, the door that's nearest to the camera is in fact a miniature and was placed about 4 or 5 feet from the camera to hide the existing door.
We had the hangar way over in the distance, the real hangar.
Between the foreground miniature and the building, there's probably 50, 60 yards.
We had a model on a line that we took through.
And it worked so well, we did the same thing when it exited from the hangar.
To film the jet inside the hangar requires another clever solution.
We put the actual Beady Jet on a car, just on a pole.
John, a very clever engineer, and he got a XJ6 Jaguar, and he stripped the top off the Jaguar.
One of my assistants in the back was working a hydraulic system to bank the plane from side to side.
We were able to actually put Roger Moore inside this thing and fly it through the hangar.
I always prayed that everybody else knew what they were doing, and they weren't like me. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just sitting there.
I would drive the car into the hangar at about 75 miles an hour.
The reason you don't see the pole arm and the Jaguar is because I put lots of figures in the foreground running back left and right to left.
We used the wing to hide the pole arm for the car, and as long as the camera was positioned cleverly with people and things in foreground, you'd never see the car.
They had trouble with the braking system.
And it took a few seconds to realise that the throttle on the car had jammed wide open, and were doing very graceful 360 pirouettes across the grass, straight towards one of Her Majesty's Air Force's planes.
John Richardson avoids an accident, but still must destroy the hangar in miniature.
It's probably only 12th scale, which is quite small. All of the corrugated metal sheets were made of plastic, but they were all stuck on individually, so they would come off individually. But each one was only, 4 inches long.
Meanwhile, another unit films aerial action for Octopussy's climax.
That was an incredible sequence. We shot most of it in the United States.
They wanted us to do a fight on top of an airplane, and we weren't sure this was even possible.
We built handles to hold on to, and we had hidden parachutes.
I came up with an idea that if we put a handle into the paint scheme, you wouldn't see the handle, and it looked like the actors are just holding on to the side of the airplane. We had a door on the Twin Beach that could be removed in flight, and so we would always take off in a normal manner, pull the door inside, climb up on the aircraft, do our stunts, and then crawl back into the aircraft, shut the door, and land.
Back in England, the 1st and 2nd units combined forces to shoot scenes of Bond on Octopussy's train.
Up in the Nene Valley, there's a train museum that has, several miles of trains and tunnels. You get rolling stock that's from different countries.
It was a very, very difficult sequence to shoot.
Moore also has to do a bit of stunt driving.
We first of all constructed some special wheels so that it could actually drive along the track. I remember the first day taking Roger for a test drive down the track in it, and Roger handled it pretty well.
Richardson also stages a head-on collision.
We built a huge air cannon, and as the train drove through, we fired the air cannon, sort of literally just clipped the front of the car with the train.
In mid-September, while the 2nd unit remains behind, the 1st unit returns to Pinewood to shoot selected interiors. Then, after a week in the studio, the 1st unit departs for India.
It was a beautiful place to be shooting, with all these palaces in the lake and boats and lights at night and camels and elephants and all the cows with their bells crossing the road. I mean, it was quintessential India.
Oh, India was magical for me. I never knew I was going to feel that way about it. It actually had such an impact on me for a long time after we left.
Roger and the other artists were staying at this superb hotel made of marble.
John Glenn decided that the camera crew and myself should stay with him in some sort of farm.
One of the artists went home, and Tom Pevsner, there was a producer, said, would you like that room? He knew I wasn't too happy where we were staying. And so I went into this palatial room. This was sheer heaven. I'm going to become an actor next time I'm born into this world.
The Maharana rolls out the red carpet for the film crew.
He was very hospitable and entertained us royally.
Quite often we would be invited for dinner at the Marahanis.
He had pictures of himself with President John F. Kennedy and other dignitaries.
And he would serve us his own rose wine.
It was so delicate.
And it took some unbelievable amount of rose petals in order to make this wine.
But all is not wine and roses for the crew. On September the 22nd, they begin shooting the taxi chase. Local interest poses a problem.
We were besieged by crowds in India. I mean, wall-to-wall people. We'd ask for 5,000 extras and 10,000 would turn up.
There is no way that you can control the public's access.
You can't sometimes see what you're filming for people. It's a big problem.
I was actually scared to go out on the street when they were doing that.
Things can get quite hairy. You never know what's happening. You can never ever be sure a shot is going to be safe because you don't know which goat will run out of which alley at which point.
Suddenly, completely spontaneous and unrehearsed, a local on a bicycle went right between the sword plate and went through unscathed without even looking left or right. He thought conditions were normal.
The crowds are not the only thing that pose a challenge for Roger Moore.
Bond is not supposed to sweat. Bond's hair doesn't get untied. He's always in a dinner jacket. Everybody is wandering around in tennis shorts or swimming trunks. But Jim Bond is always out there with the tie, the smart suit. I was really more exhausted changing shirts, so he didn't look as though I was perspiring.
Back in England, the 2nd unit continues shooting the train sequence. Doubling Roger Moore for much of the scene is veteran stuntman Martin Grace.
He's travelling along beside the train, and from that point I take over and do the transfer onto the side of the train, which was, to me, was like sort of quite simple. It was something well within my capability.
Martin was a really expert stuntman.
Unlike a lot of other train jobs that I've seen, the actual roof was convexed, which made it much more difficult from the point of view you didn't have a flat roof with railings on the side. Climbing down the side, climbing underneath the train, coming out and climbing back up again. We'd been doing that for about 3 or 4 weeks, and then we had a helicopter for 2 days.
Martin had surveyed the track, and Arthur was shooting from a helicopter. I think he was operating the camera himself.
I know the first day that the weather wasn't very good, so we didn't even get a lot done. And the second day was the fatal day.
No matter how much one practices and how much you kind of go over the area, there's always something that can go wrong.
I was climbing along the side of the train, looking through the window. Had I been able to look forward, I would have seen whatever the obstacle was and pull in, or miss it.
They went up a track they'd never rehearsed on before.
And because the camera was still rolling and nobody had called cut, he entered the unexplored section of the railway line, still hanging outside the carriage.
I was in the helicopter at that time, shooting it from the air. Poor Martin, he misjudged the timing between places.
There was a concrete stanchion by the side of the track, which hit him in the thigh, took away most of the flesh from his thigh, and it cracked his hip, broke his leg, rib, and arm, and he still held on to the train.
It's a tribute to the man's strength that he didn't fall off the train and fall under the wheels.
Martin survived it, but he spent 6 months in hospital.
Immediately, Cubby and I went to a hospital to see him.
We were very concerned. Martin had been a very good stuntman with us, and for a stuntman to get an injury like that is, could mean the end of his career.
Martin was very special, and he had a wonderful spirit, and so I was very hurt to learn he'd shattered his hip.
Roger was at his side at all times.
Martin became very popular in the hospital with Roger Moore turning up to see him.
One of the calmest, quietest, bravest men I've ever come across.
He made a full recovery eventually, but it took a long time.
The accident has a profound effect upon Second Unit Director Arthur Wooster.
It upset me because I was there. I was looking at it through the camera, and I very nearly stopped shooting Second Unit after that.
Back in India, news of the accident reaches the production.
We all heard about it.
That accident really hit us very badly.
As soon as the accident happened, I came back to try and sort out what had to be done.
I got a phone call to come and see if I would take over.
You have to pull yourself together, and you have to put that behind you.
The tension when I arrived on the set was quite strong.
Very hard on the Second Unit because they experienced that sort of tragedy.
People were worried about the sequence and whether we could, in fact, continue the sequence and get it all done safely.
You have to keep the morale of the crew up, and everyone, is a great tradition in the filmmaking that, you have to carry on no matter what.
There was a lot of soul-searching over that.
The show must go on.
At the beginning of October, the unit in India begins shooting the tiger hunt sequence.
The whole thing comes from a short story, of course, called The Most Dangerous Game, where a fellow arrives on an island and he's told by his host that they like to go hunting and he's the quarry.
The Maharani had a huge garden that had grown into disrepair. It was an absolutely fantastic place. So that was the setting of our elephant chase. We were invited to the Maharaja's palace for a cocktail party. And as I came in the door, the first thing I noticed was a stuffed tiger. I said to the Maharaja, "Do you think I could borrow your tiger?" So we mounted the tiger on a wheelbarrow and charged through the bushes with it.
You shove a tiger, stuffed or not, at the camera. For a split second, it gives you a shock.
And that was our tiger you see in the film.
Later in the week, the crew faces deadly animals of a different sort.
They got this snake charmer down from the hills, and you had to have like 4 interpreters to talk to him. John Glenn kept saying, "Is it poisonous? Does it have its teeth in?" No one knew whether this thing that was hovering out of the basket had its fangs and had its poison. And he put it round my shoulders. I was wetting myself with fear.
I kept asking the guy who was in charge of the snake charmer, "So you've taken the poison out of the snake?" And the guy says, "Well, yes and no. We've taken most of it out. We've got to leave a little bit in so that the snake will survive." I said, "Yeah, what is this?"
I don't think VJ was very comfortable with a cobra.
The thing is right in front of me, it's like 2 feet from me. And what happens if he hits you, the poison will come across.
Because these snakes were always getting out of the basket and running all over the place. So I didn't like snakes particularly, but we all found ourselves picking these snakes up and putting them back in the basket.
To be able to pick it up and put it in the basket and have the thing running all over, I don't think I could have done it unless the adrenaline was really pumping.
By mid-October, the first unit is back in England, where they create a German town square on the Pinewood back lot. They also complete the remainder of a scene which has been partially filmed in India.
When Christina Wayborn escapes from the fortress, it's an idea of mine about the sari, they wind them round and round and round. I thought it was a great way to escape.
We did the landing of that scene in India, of course. And when we get back to London, we have to do the pickup shot where I actually do the backflip.
Having an athletic woman like Christina to kind of help sell the idea, to make the first moves, were great.
John Glenn said, "Christina, you're an athlete. Do you think you can do this?" I said, I want to do this. I told you, this is my stunt. I want to do it. So I did that stunt.
The cast and crew get a special treat when Martin Grace returns to the set. In November, the Pinewood Studios backlot becomes home base for Octopussy's circus.
We got a whole crew of kids in, entertained them with clowns and everything.
The big tent scene was coordinated by Barbara Broccoli. That was really quite remarkable how well she did that.
We had close to a 800 crowd, I think.
The atmosphere was genuine. We were in a tent and we had all this crowd there, and we did have the performance going on at all times, so it was quite festive.
Roger had some reservations about, you know, putting the red nose on and all that stuff. And I said, oh, no, it's a great... I mean, it is a great disguise, isn't it? We had quite a serious discussion about it, and I said, no, it'll be great.
They certainly had great fun romping around in that clown costume.
The final 2 weeks of November finds the crew back on the sound stages, where interiors and insert shots for the train sequence are filmed.
The scenes where I was fighting Bond on top of the moving train was the most difficult because there weren't doubles for that. We were actually rolling around, even though the train was not really moving and shot in the comfort of Pinewood Studios. But the fact of the matter is, it still hurts when you fall.
We'd arranged for Kabir Bedi to have a cable, electricity cable, up his sleeve, attached to the sword, and every time he touched the wheel of the train, a spark would fly. It was done on a 12-volt battery.
I was hanging underneath. They assimilated this in the studio because you couldn't do it for real.
Peter brought in 2 full-sized carriages from the Neen Railway, and we had a crane came in and held these carriages above the ground, above the moving backing.
We actually got our scenic artist, I think it was Jackie Steers in those days. She actually painted the rails and the sleepers.
They had the tracks on a long flat roller going underneath it.
It really looks as though Roger is under the train and he's actually, you know, hanging on over a revolving backing on a stage at Pinewood.
It's so crude and so old-fashioned type of filmmaking, but absolutely believable.
I was there perspiring, trying to pull myself up, really exhausting. And that day, King Constantine came with his sons to visit the shooting. And at the end of the day shooting, he said, I don't know what they pay you, but it's obviously not enough.
At the end of November, the filmmakers staged the attack on Kamal Khan's fortress.
We shot a lot of the scenes in India, but then we had to recreate it back at Pinewood Studios. And in India, in the heat, in our skimpy little outfits, that was fine. Back at Pinewood, it was November. There were icicles on the set.
We were shooting in the winter, and we had all these scantily clad girls.
And it was extremely cold.
Freezing, freezing, freezing.
And of course you had the problem seeing the breath.
And we were all pretending it was India again, but it was so cold.
We had the girls, most beautiful girls, doing all the fights, so we had to coach them how to fight.
They really enjoyed what they were doing. It was all swinging around on ropes and fighting and smashing.
We didn't have to put wires on them. If we built a rig, you know, they were strong enough and trained enough to use it, you know, to swing through upside down or the right way up or balance on the top of a pole.
There was no problem in trying to get a performance out of them. They were just delighted to have a go.
Wayborn really gets into her fight scenes. It is reported later that her punches to a stuntman's abdomen sent him to the infirmary.
It's possible. I am the lightweight arm wrestling champion of Europe.
In December, scenes in Octopussy's palace are filmed. The sequence features a unique weapon.
The yo-yo was actually an idea that George MacDonald Fraser had.
It presented more than a few problems because, I mean, it had to do all sorts of things. We had a yo-yo saw that was balanced and sort of, you know, practical. And we had one that was on the end of a pole arm that would actually whir around with a motor drive on it so that it would, you know, seriously cut through things.
They were almost inventors, you know, they were almost worse than Q.
That saw, I mean, that was kind of scary, actually. We had to be fairly nimble at times.
The scene is especially trying for actor William Derrick.
The man that was deploying the yo-yo leant too far across the balcony and actually fell. Unknown to us, he'd removed some supports from the balcony so that he could get closer to the edge.
He broke his arm, and I know they were considering recasting him, but they'd already shot most of the sequence. He would not have any of it. He came back, his arm in a cast, and said, oh, no, I gotta finish the thing.
They shot the stuff trying to shoot it at all angles so that his broken arm didn't show.
In mid-December, one of the last major scenes is filmed in the recreation of an Indian bazaar on Pinewood's E stage. Production wraps in January with the completion of model shots and inserts. The filmmakers overcome the accidents and setbacks to create a rousing James Bond adventure. Upon its release in 1983, Octopussy becomes a record-breaking hit.
I was very proud of Octopussy. I thought we put in all the right ingredients. We outgrossed the other Bond film, which was satisfying to some degree.
It was just a lot of fun, and I think it's one of those Bonds that's a little different.
I loved playing Octopussy. It was great fun.
Even to this day, as I travel the world, you know, people will say, yes, you played tennis, but the most important thing is you were in a Bond film.
We all work in cinema to leave some kind of enduring mark. And being in a Bond film is certainly one of them. I'm proud to have been in a Bond film.
James!
All I wanted was a sweet distraction for an hour or two. Had no intention to do the things we've done. Funny how it always goes. But then we're two of a kind. We move as one. We're an all-time high. We'll change all that's gone before, doing so much more than falling in love.
Hello, darling. My next leading lady.
We'll take on the world and win. So hold on tight, let the flight begin. So hold on tight, let the flight begin. We're an all-time
India, a land of fabled contrast where East meets West in a never-ending kaleidoscope of old and new. A perfect example of this is Udaipur, one of the principal cities of Rajasthan. Situated on the banks of Lake Pichola, Udaipur is known to generations of tourists as the City of Sunrise. Standing halfway between Bombay and New Delhi, the city was founded in 1599 by the Maharana Uday Singh, the king of Mewa, and was named after him. The lifestyle has changed little over the centuries. Only the buses and motor cars indicate the modern day. The women are seen every morning by the lake washing and drying their clothes in the ageless way of their ancestors. But today seems to be rather special, as the profusion of brightly colored saris being aired and dried indicates that something unusual is about to happen. This little fellow gives a clue. He's not just an onlooker, he is a dress extra. The button explains it. The signs on the Indian trucks confirm it. And the selection of the first English-language film ever to play at Udaipur's biggest cinema leaves no doubt as to who is causing the excitement. The date is September the 21st, 1982, the first day of filming in India of the new 007 adventure, Octopussy. The crowds are in a festive mood while awaiting the arrival of international superstar Roger Moore. And he leaves no doubt as to who he is.
My name is Bond, Brooke Bond, and I've come here to sell tea. You may think this is bringing coals to Newcastle, but that's the sort of Bond I am.
324, take one. Okay, action.
Charming tune. You take English money?
Only gold sovereigns. Please. I'm Vijay, Special Expediter, Universal Exports. Welcome to India, Commander Bond.
Oh, thank you. Call me James. Where's that routed?
This way, waiting in the taxi.
In case you don't know Wimbledon from Forest Hills, Roger's actor chum is the famous Indian Davis Cup tennis player Vijay Amritraj, making his big screen acting debut.
Close up of that. Now close up of his foot. Oh, dear. It's wonderful. It's part of making a picture like this. Rich, nature. I wouldn't keep doing it if I were you. That's not one of those friendly camels that you smoke. Hello, darling. My next leading lady.
The streets become the set for the next sequence. John Glenn, the creator of countless action sequences for past Bond films and director of For Your Eyes Only and now Octopussy, doesn't seem too perturbed by the long, thin creature in the basket. However, Vijay summed up his own feelings when he said it was no easier than playing with John McEnroe.
.328, take two. Okay, action, Roger.
Uh-oh, here comes trouble.
How long have you been handling snakes?
I've never handled them in my life. I hate snakes. I told them I wanted to sell vegetables. This was the wrong cover.
And cut.
While the crew is working in the 103 degrees heat, some visitors from England arrive to help raise the temperature even more. A contingent of 12 Octopussy girls have flown in from London to begin their own important work in the film. Former Miss World, Mary Staven, and the others don't look like they've just arrived after a 20-hour trip. But it is straight to the set the next day at the poolside of the Shivnivas Palace Hotel. Owned by the present Maharana, work on the rooms finished the day before the stars arrived to check in. For this sequence, they found the distance from their suites to the location a matter of literally walking out of their own front door. The one lady with clothes on is continuity girl Elaine Shrake.
Roger.
The action moves from the poolside to the hotel entrance as Glenn prepares for the next scene. Roger is supplied with the necessary props.
Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. What was the other thing? Oh, yeah, there's one guy here.
And the action begins. Later in the sequence, the audience will discover that one of these taxi rickshaws has been souped up with a 10-horsepower engine. A Bond car with a difference. Meanwhile, out on the lake, the Bond beauties find out that being an Octopussy girl is not just looking pretty around the pool. They have to spend 5 days learning how to row Octopussy's ceremonial barge.
Forward and stroke together. And 1. And 2. And 3. And 4. And 5. And 6.
Octopussy's floating palace stands majestically in the background. While some of the hundreds of townspeople who play townspeople wait to be paid, others watch the live theatre that is movie making on a distant location.
Why are we rehearsing? What do we want to rehearse? I know where I'm going. Come on, Roger. Let's try it. Cut! That's why you need a rehearsal budget. BJ couldn't start the taxi. BJ. Let's go again.
The excellent Anglo-Indian actor Kabir Bedi stars as one of the leading villains.
Cut! I tell you what, Kabir has done it. He seems to that's his cue. So as soon as I see it, I'll...
And don't let it be said that Roger Moore doesn't do his own action stunts.
Could have come off the knife. Yeah, maybe it had a dirty knife. That's part of his plan.
John.
John, do you mind this? Where they screwed the thing in, it's black.
Could have come off the blade with a knife.
Why don't we make a bit job of it? Have you got some scissors? Yeah. Do a tear.
I mean, the knife was that way, long way is the blade.
Well, it doesn't matter, but it's just to get rid of that black. Well, we can get rid of that with chalk.
Well, no, I can clean it out.
Let's make it decent.
When Roger first saw these elephants, his comment was that they had better wardrobe and makeup than the actors. Film fans are the same the world over.
Out of it! Ah. He's getting the hang of it. He'll learn his role one of these days.
In the middle of Lake Pichola is the Lake Palace Hotel, one of the most beautiful in the world. The courtyard has been turned into the interior of Octopussy's island home. Europe's contingent of stunning ladies is augmented by 15 of India's loveliest actress models who are flown in to add to the glamour.
Yes. Oh, I think it's time to I think I'm going to
From the Lake Palace, it's back to the Shivnivas for night shooting and a birthday celebration for Mary Stavin, Roger Moore style.
Happy birthday to you.
Beautiful Christina Wayborn, starring as Magda, relaxes with Glenn before the action commences.
Background action!
Mr. Bond, your table is ready. I didn't reserve one. Guests are waiting for you, sir. The street, please.
Stop.
.359, take 3.
Thank you. You changed your mind. I'm glad.
Are you?
Well, let's put it this way. Up to now, you are the least gleeful and by far the prettiest of Kamal's friends that I've come across.
And cut it.
354, take 2, C camera.
All right.
The next day, Mary and the other girls are at work again, and the 5 days of learning how to handle the oars pay off for the first of the many boat sequences to be filmed. Even in the incredible heat of Udaipur, Christina always manages to look like an ice cream sundae. High up overlooking the city and the surrounding valley is the Monsoon Palace, built in the early 19th century by the then Maharana. It represents in the film the fortress home of the evil Afghan prince Kamal Khan, played by international star Louis Jourdain. More, Octopussy herself, Maud Adams, and a friend from Beverly Hills discuss the incredible view.
Yeah, well, I thought we could put Sepulveda there myself, you know?
I like it. The road right on top of the ridge, Mulholland. It's called Mulholland.
Mulholland's behind us. It's just up there.
Oh, it's perfect.
Yeah, we're looking out.
We're looking north.
There's a nice area to put a town called Bakersfield over there. Looks nice and hot and desolate.
The horses have been made ready as director Glenn and veteran Bond stunt coordinator Bob Simmons discuss the business for an important scene between Adams, Jourdain, and Bedi. Camera operator Alec Mills looks on.
Stand by. All right, action, Harrison. All right, action. No, you've got to do that. Yeah, that's right. Louis, good. Right, that. Well done, Louis. Good. Okay, then we'll cut there. Yeah, we'll just get you up into the saddle and we'll cut. That's very, very good. Okay.
I'm running out.
Speed. 461, take 2, A camera. Harrison. Action, Louis. Action. Hold this hot.
As the day progresses, no detail is too unimportant for Simmons. Whether elephants or horses, constant attention must be paid to all performers. The action moves back from the mountaintop to the jungle, located just outside one of Udaipur's ancient gates for a major Octopussy sequence. The Tiger Hunt, with James Bond as the prey.
Actor? Good. Let the sport commence.
Okay, action, Roger.
Run up! Run up! Oh! Run
For this scene, Roger said he hoped his flies wouldn't get stuck in the spider web. An actor really earns his pay when he has to perform under a 3-ton elephant.
Let's do one more, Roger, please.
I thought that was very good.
Yeah, I think...
The elephant farted.
It is getting darker, but director of photography Alan Hume has the lights for every eventuality.
I saw that, yeah. There's a lot of teeth and stuff.
Do 6, take 4.
Looking up. Action. Good. Start. Good one.
Very good.
Okay, print them all. Let's have a look at them. Great. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for a good day.
Thank you.
The next day, the temperature is well over 110 degrees, and those who can rest do so. Assistant Director Tony Way checks details for the next intricate setup, while Glenn is probably thinking about the old showbiz line that says, never work with children or animals.
Trouble in the ranks. I think we should be talking about. We should first do a dummy dialogue, so that we look very much interested.
I'll give you another one. No, we'll give you a better idea for the script. No.
Even though not on call, the chance to be with the elephants brings the lovely Miss Adams to the location for a bit of fun. Maybe this was because she didn't have to work with them.
You're a mark, man. No more. No, here, this guy one. Over here. You're being unfair to him. You have to wait.
Give me
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Oh, you think it's my face?
Yeah, that's a great one. Wait. Greedy. Lovely, isn't it? Can you smell it? Eh? Can you smell it, darling? There we are. You wouldn't mind the paper, actually. No, he doesn't like it. No, madam. Okay, go up there. That's it.
Where?
No, madam, sit side saddle. Side saddle.
Yes.
Niche bed.
Maud, look.
Out. That's it. Maud, out, button.
Walt Disney!
Maud. Just relax your hamsters contains. So yeah, that's it. Relax, take it easy.
Executive producer Michael Wilson enjoys the momentary break with more. But it's soon back to work for the elephants, the actors, and the unit.
Mr. Bond. John, you cut a line. Okay, once more. You cut a line. Yep.
No.
Hold it in there.
Soundman Derek Ball looks on while Glenn discusses the dialogue for the final shots to be taken in India after just over 3 weeks of both day and night shooting.
Bond is a rare breed.
No,
Did we say that?
No.
Elephant. Turn over.
Roger.
Hey!
Elephant! Hey! Beaters!
So, to borrow the words from the old 1930s MGM travelogues, as the sun sinks in the west, we reluctantly say farewell to mysterious Udaipur, city of lakes, palaces, and 200 very tired actors and technicians from faraway Pinewood in England. But for star Roger Moore, there still awaits not only his wife Louisa, but also a Latin American TV journalist to record for posterity what can only be described as Bond's closing night at the palace.
You sure it's the right time? What? Oh, this is it. Okay, come over here to have a reference. That's good.
You have any money, Roger?
Money? No, you've got it all. That's wonderful, isn't it? Well, that's nice. English tailoring, you see, this will dry tomorrow exactly as it looked today.
Esto se seca igual y estará de la misma forma mañana. Un sastre inglés. Definitivamente, Roger Moore está más loco que nunca en la última película de James Bond. Octopussy. Filmándose en Udaipur.
I'll pick it up for you. Roger.
That's the bit more hair.
Una escena familiar. La mujer que le regaña por echarse el agua con la ropa.
Un momento.
My name is Peter Lamont. I was the production designer on Octopussy. This is the Kurfürstendamm, the Kaiser Wilhelm Church in Berlin. This was some of the pre-production footage that was taken during our scouting of Berlin. We normally start about 6 months ahead of the production, so this footage would have been shot during kind of late 81, 82. This footage that you see here was Checkpoint Charlie, which is one of the many checkpoints. It was the one big checkpoint that foreigners could go through into East Berlin. It was quite scary to go through because your passport was taken away, and just some fingers took your passport away. About 10 minutes later you got it back, and on examination there were no marks in it, so whether it was a photographic mark or what, and you gave it in on your return to the West and the same thing happened, so they could just examine that you were the person who had given the passport in and this was your passport. The circus that was here was actually on the west side, and the only thing that really gave it away, that there was a lot of graffiti on the Berlin Wall. Now, in those days, if you were an East German, you couldn't get anywhere near the wall, but there was at least 2 or 3 layers of fences and that. So the thing that we had to do was now eliminate all the graffiti. Now, the East Germans actually had access of about 4 or 5 feet, or perhaps a couple of meters on the west side, but we got a Wagner spray machine, and we sprayed about a quarter of a mile of the Berlin Wall, getting rid of the graffiti, so that it looked like we were on the east side. It was quite scary actually if you were there with this wall, but it was, the whole thing was not to let people in, but to keep those in from getting out. It was put up very quickly when it was inaugurated, and then subsequently it was added to, and they made a proper wall with layers, these guard towers here, and there were always people patrolling. The city was just divided. It houses were removed, walls were put up, and it was well guarded. When you go up on the viewing platform, and if you're looking with binoculars, to find suddenly somebody looking at you with binoculars or a camera. Hear the Volpos going up to their guard tower to kind of keep a watch. Even out into the country, it's still, war went on. The whole city was only approachable by road, which you had to go through various checkpoints, or you could fly in. This is one of the canals that runs through Berlin. There's a huge amount of traffic goes through Berlin. A lot of German transport is still done by barge, obviously down the Rhine, but the Spree goes through Berlin, and this is one of the big barges that goes through. Now this is an East German barge because you can see the Wartburg car on it. We were obviously sailing down the correct side. This is one of the bridges where that you could cross. Now I have a feeling this might have been the bridge that we actually used on Vienna in Berlin, where we had to replicate one so that it could we could do our own checkpoint. Railway still went through into East Germany, and you had to go through a whole thing of visas and God knows what. It was quite an amazing place. If you've never been there and seen the division of a city, it could be quite scary. And if you did try to breach the wall to get away into the west, you were a target. You could be shot.
Hi, I'm James Brolin. In the early 80s, I got a call from Cubby Broccoli with an invitation to come over to London and test for the next Bond film, Octopussy. Well, the only thing I did, it's funny, I in my whole career, I never got too excited about anything. I would just go, okay, here's what I've got to do. And what I had not been contacted, let's say, by their wardrobe department, which is usually when you do something, that's the first thing. That's the first call that you get. And so what I did is I went down to the best shops around and got the 3 suits that Bond would, and I spent much more than I normally would have. And it was kind of an excuse to buy myself a present. So I arrived there very well dressed in London. And naturally they said, have you got any of your own clothes we can use in this? Even though there was a lot of money spent on the test. It was done the old way with wonderful DP and beautiful sets and great line. You know, it took all day. Or actually, I believe it took 2 or 3 days to do the 2 or 3 scenes. And Vijay Amatraj was testing. Always had been amazed the high quality in those days of films that came out of England. I mean, really high quality. And yet I got to the studios, and the studios were not as, let's say, lavish as our old studios, even still are here, the few that are left. So I thought, you know, how is this going to be? And was really amazed at how thorough every department was. I had, from the time I was 15, all I wanted to do was run a camera and be a director. And it was at 20 that somehow I got introduced to this head of casting at 20th Century Fox. And it wasn't within a half hour of sitting with him, he said, we want to put you under contract for 7 years as an actor. And I'm going, gee, well, you know, at least I'm inside the gates. I'll get in here, I'll change jobs. Not a problem. That's not something that's done very easy. And it wasn't until actually the early 80s, about the year, right after I did the Bond test, that I directed my first television. And finally got back to doing what I've really loved in the first place. Cubby, you know, he took me under his wing as if, and he told me the truth about it. He said if he was going to cast an American, he was very worried about whether to try an accent or not. But his intuition told him that it would be fine without an accent, and we probably would do the test with no attempt at an accent. We went to a lot of Cubby's clubs. We went to his favorite dinner place. He gave me a haircut. I started working out with the stuntmen. We were running around town looking at flats to choose because this was going to be my new home for a year. And it was quite a couple of weeks. I actually could not believe the amount of attention I was getting from Cubby, just going back to him. You know, in other projects, you know, people spend time with you and they go to lunch. I mean, we were in the car going out to the country. We were going into offices and meeting friends of his, and that was one of the wonderful things, just to be with a great guy who really seemed to care about what he's doing, whether it was business. His business was his life was his business was his love, and I was part of that, and that was kind of the best part of the whole thing.
Breakfast for one at 9, please. Green figs, yogurt, coffee, very black. Thank you.
Look surprised to see me. I thought you were expecting me.
So you are Titania Romanova.
My friends call me Tanya.
Mine call me James Bond. Well, now that we've been properly introduced.
Guns upset me.
Sorry. You see, I'm a bit upset myself.
Just like your photograph.
You look even better than yours. Much, much better. In fact, you're one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen.
Thank you. But I think my mouth is too big.
It's just the right size. For me, that is. Is it here?
What?
The decoding machine? The lector?
Oh, must we talk about that now?
Is it at the Russian consulate?
Oh,
Can you get me a plan of the consulate?
Why don't we talk about that later?
What are you looking for?
Scar.
Huh?
You see, I know all about you from your file.
I hope you're not disappointed.
I will tell you. In the morning.
PJ, we have company.
No problem. This is a company car.
Well, thank God for hard currency.
Game, set, and match. Hang on, James.
Keep your head down. That's it. Thank you. जल्दी चलो। Here, catch. Excuse me. You'd better stick this back yourself.
James, over here. Come on.
BJ, the money I gave you. Here. Rupiah! Easy come, easy go. Jalan!
I'm John Glenn. I'm the director of Octopussy, which we shot in late 1982. I appointed Phil Ressler as the second unit director. He was an Englishman that I'd worked with many, many years before when I was a film editor, and he was the director. So I called him into the office and we went through all the storyboards that I'd designed and explained what I needed. And it was quite a responsibility. It was quite an expensive second unit. Involved the flying sequences, the plane crashing, the motorcycle stuff, all the stuff that was involved in the pre-title sequence of Octopussy. Phil did a great job. As you can see, the motorcycle stunts are always dangerous. Car stunts are dangerous enough, but I always think the motorcycles are even more dangerous. Here we have the Jeep, and that looks a pretty good shot. Why didn't I use it? Sometimes things go a little wrong, and it may appear that from this shot that the guys are leaping, which they are leaping actually to get out the way in case it turns over. But in editing, we have various cameras, and this enables us to take the offending pieces out and make it less of a leap, shall we say. So for this pre-title sequence, I devised this scene. We're flying through the hangar and everything else, which was all done just for a pre-title scene. It really had nothing to do with the movie. And it was one of our longest pre-title scenes. It ran for about 7 minutes. It always worried me that it took so long, but it was such an entertaining scene, and it was such a thrilling scene, and it was funny. I mean, Roger was at his best. Yeah, the planning on these second unit sequences where you have not only one unit, sometimes you have 4 units shooting simultaneously. We send them off maybe before we even start shooting the main unit. And I brief the guys, they all have a storyboard, so they have to conform in a way to what is written, because otherwise they won't join together. Then the advantage of that is, of course, is that before the main units start to roll, we have in the cam, we have the film. I think one of the guys must have got hurt in this because the Jeep appears to fall right on top of him in the sack. And I guess he was just badly bruised because I didn't hear any more about it at the time. But the guy's very concerned there. I'm sure he was fine. But, this sort of stuff can be very dangerous. They always make their own, take care of their own safety, stuntmen. And there's multi-cameras. It appears to be do lots and lots of takes, but it's essential to have the choice, of course. There, that's the one there. I think he might have had a headache after that one. B.J. Worth and our aerial team. Cameraman was Randy DeLuca, and the stunt guys were all great parachutists and all of international standard. And we used them a lot in the Bond movies. I think, to my knowledge, they've been on 5 movies. And they film in free fall and clamber around on aeroplanes. Sometimes we have to put handholds on the airplane so they can get a grip, because when you're looping the loop, the G-force is considerable. They always wear a flat parachute underneath their costume in case they get hurled off, which they do occasionally. The interesting thing about this team is that having worked with them so often, Jake Lombard, you can see there, who doubled very successfully for Roger. And you'll notice there's a slight shimmering effect when you're on an aeroplane. It's a vibration. The air pressure causes a vibration. It enables you sometimes to get away with a double that you normally wouldn't get away with. But very expert guys and great friends, and they work very, very efficiently together. Here they're just testing the handholds and having a bit of fun by the look of it. And there we go. They can't resist, can they? Here's B.J. Worth. He's doubling for Gobinder, and not doing too great a job of it, apparently. I'm sure we improved on that, but it worked very well in the movie anyway. This is Jake Lombard. I always remember on Moonraker we did the free fall sequence. That was the first time I met these boys, and they've been with us ever since. It all has to look very effortless, and despite the fact you're doing 200 miles an hour and trying to hang on for dear life, you still have to do a performance. Great communication, thumps on the aeroplane when he wants to ease off or flatten out or what have you. And I was very fortunate. Randy DeLuca, who was a brilliant aerial cameraman, and he had a kind of an improvised sight to point the camera. It was just a sort of sight you get on a Bofors gun, you know. It's a very crude kind of thing, but he did remarkable work. And to be the cameraman on an aerial, you almost have to be better at aerial work than the people in front of the camera, because not only do you have to have a 7-pound camera on top of your head, but also when you eventually bail out and land on the ground, when you pull the ripcord, that 7-pound weight is accelerated through G, and it could break your neck quite easily. So he had to put a restraining rope around his parachute so it opened very, very slowly so that he wouldn't get this pull. It's amazing to think these guys really enjoy doing this. It's strange how you lose a sense of perspective. When they do a roll, it looks like the Earth is moving and you're staying still. That's because we got fixed cameras on the aeroplane. So they're in very close proximity to the propellers, really, when you think about it. I think he was. He had to adjust the handholds after this, I think, because his feet were off the ground for most of the fight. And also, I think he needed a bit more grip on his shoes. But they have to do these tests in order to find these things out. It's no good waiting until the day you're shooting before you discover you have to put modifications on the aeroplane. B.J. Worth and his crew were an integral part of the Bond team. They gave us great service, did some fantastic stuff for us, and many films.
All I wanted was a sweet distraction for an hour or two. Had no intention to do the things we've done. Funny how it always goes with love. When you don't look, you find. But then we're two of a kind. We move as one. We're an all-time high. We'll change all that's gone before, doing so much more than falling in love. On an all-time high, we'll take on the world and win. So hold on tight, let the flight begin. I don't want to waste a waking moment. I don't want to sleep. I'm in so strong and so deep, and so are you. In my time I've said these words before, but now I realize my heart was telling me lies.
Hello, I'm Maud Adams. Welcome to the exotic locations of Octopussy. Produced in 1983, the 13th 007 adventure was filmed on location in England, Germany, the United States, and India. RAF Northolt, which had served as the location for previous 007 films, is called into duty again, doubling for a Caribbean airbase. Local residents wondered if the imported palm trees signaled training for an invasion of Argentina during the last days of the Falklands War. The crew also filmed at RAF Upper Hayford for scenes involving the United States Air Base in Germany. The pursuit of 009 and 007 by the twins was filmed in the woodlands of Black Park, located adjacent to Pinewood Studios, while the scene at Weir was filmed at Orton Mere. When Bond goes to the auction, he is seen at, appropriately enough, New Bond Street, the location of Sotheby's auction house. Sotheby's was the setting of Ian Fleming's short story, Property of a Lady, which inspired this scene. The exterior of the Kremlin Art Repository was filmed in Greenwich at the National Maritime Museum. Much of the action in the film takes place in, on, and around Octopussy's train. The train sequences were filmed at the Nene Valley Railway in Peterborough. Trains had been rolling through Peterborough since June 1845 and continued until the line closed in 1972. A 7.5-mile-long circuit of track was reopened in June of 1977 as a railway museum and became a popular location for film and television productions. One of the stops along the line, Ferry Meadows, became the site of Orlov's dramatic demise. Though most of the scenes set in Germany were filmed in England, some key sequences were shot on location. When 009 makes his escape from East Berlin, we are afforded a brief glimpse of Berlin's famed Tempodrome Circus. The original circus tents have now been replaced by permanent structures. Bond is also seen approaching Checkpoint Charlie, the one-time crossing point from the American to the Russian sector of Berlin. The scenes that give Octopussy its most exotic flavor are those filmed in India, beginning with a glimpse of the Taj Mahal. The magnificent monument to love was built by Emperor Shah Jahan as a memorial to his wife Mumtaz Mahal on the banks of the river Yamuna in Agra. Bond arrives by helicopter in Pikola Lake in Udaipur. 007 comes up the steps near the Gangor Ghat, a stone gateway just north of the city palace, a complex of buildings which includes the Shivnavas Hotel. The ancient guest house of the Mewar royalty, Shivnavas was built as a Maharani's private residence in the early 20th century and converted into luxury apartments between 1978 and 1982. Among the luminaries who have stayed at the palace are Queen Elizabeth II, the Shah of Iran, and Jacqueline Kennedy, though none of these guests ever left like Magda.
Good. Let the sport commence.
The hunting scene was filmed near the hotel in the gardens of the city palace. Octopussy's palace was the Lake Palace Hotel on an island in Lake Pikola, while Kamal Khan's residence was the Monsoon Palace, built by Maharani Sajan Singh in the 19th century. It was constructed on a high hill to protect it from monsoon flooding, but pumping water to it proved too difficult, so it was eventually abandoned.
Bond hits an all-time high. Roger Moore is Ian Fleming's James Bond 007 in Octopussy.
Roger Moore in his newest and most thrilling of the James Bond adventures, filling the screen with excitement. In the tradition of the great James Bond films, Octopussy has everything: elegant palaces and beautiful women.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Name's Bond. I believe you have a reservation for me.
We've been expecting you, sir.
I'm Octopussy, and you are James Bond, 007 licensed to kill. Am I to be your target for tonight?
This is Bond at his best, hitting an all-time high in Octopussy.
Step on it.
The Bond that tops them all.
Follow that car.
Octopussy racing across the screen with thrills and excitement. Roger Moore in his newest James Bond adventure, hitting an all-time high in Octopussy.